All right. This is Homeroom with Smooth, episode 14. We're coming live now from StreamYard. You know what I'm saying? Got a new platform, courtesy of KJ. Hooked us up with some new. You know what I'm saying? So now we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at the same time. So if you start commenting down below, your comments will be filtered all together. And we'll also take and respond to some comments as necessary and as they come up. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the first topic. So our first topic is what do y'all well, you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna let y'all introduce yourselves. I jumped way ahead of myself. Y'all introduce yourselves real fast.
Go ahead, KJ. You started off.
All right, so KJ, and I'm gonna keep it real with you, Chief. That ain't it. That's all I got for you.
Hey guys, I'm Alan from Type X Thrills. Photographer, and have some opinions that I like to share and I'd like to discuss with these guys. So I'll just keep it there.
All right, and I'm Brian, and I have no nickname and no video.
Oh man. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So I guess we're gonna start here, right? So what do y'all see going forward for the Biden administration? January 21st, 2021 going forward. What do y'all see?
Right now,
Oh well.
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian. You first.
Okay. Well, as far as I see, I think it's going to be a pretty typical liberal cabinet, neoliberal cabinet. It's going to pick a lot of centrists, which the left is really more center right now than it ever really has been. I mean, you do have those certain progressive leanings that he has, but I think his cabinet's mostly going to be filled with stock people from Obama administration and people that are similar to that.
Yeah. I can confirm that because he just hired his press secretary, what is now the same press secretary that he worked as a press secretary or in that capacity for the Clintons. Then he also did that for Obama, and now he's coming back again for I guess it's his chief of staff, excuse me, same chief of staff as the Clintons and Obama and whatchamacallit. And well, now he's going to be for Biden. Type X, as you were saying.
No, it honestly it's gonna depend on how this transition goes. I see it. The main topic it's gonna be all about COVID response. It's not really a secret that a lot of people are frustrated with the COVID response. So I think a lot of people that he's picking for that it's gonna go to fix that perceived problem, whether you agree with it or not. I think that's the main thing that he wants to get everybody on board, saying, hey, we're doing this about COVID, and we're actually and he's picking people to actually go and pick a direction and stick with it. None of this back and forth. So hopefully that trickles down to the different state levels as well, and has some overarching guidelines. Other than that, like Brian said, it's going to be more left centric, for lack of a better term, but like you said, it's more centered too. So we're kind of bringing everything back over towards the center, not extreme left, not extreme right. Because I think right now, it's my personal belief, we're more extreme right now, and even a lot of conservatives, for lack of a better term, they're not that extreme in general, So they're not that extreme. They're just going on things that mostly benefit them. So as soon as they see that, hey, the center is not a bad place to be, I think they'll like the direction that we're going to as well.
Yeah, I personally think that it's going to be slow, and I think it's gonna piss a lot of people off who voted for Biden, because it's not going to be that. I think, what do they look at? What the first 100 days of a presidency to determine how it's going to go?
Yeah.
And I think within that first 100 days, we're going to see a lot of. Okay, let me preface everything. It depends on what happens in the Senate on the runoff vote on January 5th. So, in a perfect world for Democrats, let's say we get those 2 Senate seats that are up in Georgia, and I think that would make it what 50-50 or 51-49 or something.
51-49.
51-49. So it tilts toward the Democrats in their perfect world. Then Biden is going to be, for the next 2 years, Biden is going to be able to do everything that he wants to implement with seamless transition, even between the filibustering and whatever happens on the Senate floor. He's going to pass majority of his legislation with bipartisanship, something that hasn't happened in the last 4 years. Now, in a Republican perfect world, let's say they retain their lead in the Senate, things are going to be eerily similar to what we saw with Obama. A lot of great ideas, and they're going to discuss a lot of Obamacare, X type things, and they're going to talk about My Brother's Keeper and all these great programs that Obama tried to implement. And then it's going to go to the Senate, and it's going to get watered down, and it's going to look nothing like the beginning product that was put out there. And so for me, if I had any advice, would be to Democrats is, first and foremost, let's take care of business. If you're a Democrat, let's take care of business in those primaries that are coming up in Georgia. I know not everybody that's watching is going to be a Georgia voter, but if you have family, friends, whatever, get them out to re-vote again in this Senate runoff in Georgia. Then, with these first 100 days, let Biden warm himself up. Think about yourself on the job. Be able to, the first 90 days, you're still learning, you're still going. Regardless of his 47 years, it's going to take time to get to the progress that we want to see, and the reason why most of us voted for him.
Yeah,
that's true. That's very, very. Man. But going off of that, so in the Democratic perfect world, they'll be able to stack the Supreme Court. But if they don't get the Senate, they're not going to be able to stack the Supreme Court. Now, my question to you guys is: do you guys think that's ethical to do, like to stack the Supreme Court? Like, do y'all think that's in the best interest of the country to add even more people that can't be removed from office unless they do something obscene or die? Like, then there's their only ways out. Like, do we need more people like that?
Well, I think that stacking the court would be stupid to do, and the main reason I think is because, well, then that means when it swings back Republicans' directions, because it's pendulous, it will always swing back the other way eventually. Then what? They're gonna just add some more people up there, and you're gonna have a 15-person court at some point. I honestly think they probably should have stopped at 3 Supreme Court justices and just made it a tribunal. But I think America's going to have another reckoning with the fact that they get these lifetime appointments and instead of term limits. And I feel like the court's supposed to be more stable, and that's how the framers wanted the court to be more stable. But I think more stable is maybe give them 12 years, so they have a president and a half or 3 presidents if they're all single terms. But as far as serving for life, that's ridiculous. And the notion of stacking the Supreme Court, because they've added seats in the past, but it's just gonna get ridiculous at some point. I mean, just like the Democrats and how they ran 20 people in their, well, actually it was more than 20 in their primaries. It's just straight, craziness.
Yeah. So stacking. Really, like I said, I think in a lot of all the offices, they need to have term limits, because you get the complacency, and if someone really, unless they screw up royally and kill somebody, they don't get removed. That's really a problem. So that really doesn't solve anything. And like I said, we have the balance of power that it's always going to go back and forth. And if we keep on adding, it's where do we stop? Where is enough? And then we're gonna have an issue where it's just gonna be overloaded, and it's gonna undermine the purpose of what it's supposed to be. Because like I said, 3 people was pretty good. I could understand them, adding 5. But if you keep on going more and more, like it's never gonna stop. And then they said, oh, someone did it before, we could do it again. Someone did it before, we could do it again. And it doesn't work. So you said the term limits, you could go 12 years, maybe 15, especially if they're staggered. That's where you get that continuity So I would say maybe 15 years. That's probably the max I would go. But then they're staggered, so then you're not having that mass exodus to have that stability, because you still have two people still there, or even if you stagger them, so you got like a new person every 5 years, so then that gives you the a transition, so it's not completely stagnant, but you get the stability also. But that's above me. So I guess that they say they have a reason for doing it, but it's one of those things that they really do need to readjust and look at.
So I would say that I'm in favor of him packing the court. Now, do I want it to go as high as 15 justices? Probably that's a little outrageous. Somebody refresh me. How many Supreme Court justices do we have right now? We at what, 7?
7. Oh, no, 9. Yeah, I thought it was 7. I think
right now.
It's 9 now.
Because it's
That's
5.
okay.
Yeah.
So
it's 9
9 right now, and the Republicans have a 5-4 advantage.
Yeah.
I thought it was 6-3 now.
No, it should be 5. It should be 5-4.
I'll go look that up while KJ talks.
Because their last thing they voted on was it got stuck at 4-4 because old girl was what's RBJ, right? Ruth. Oh man, I don't want to insult her by not Ruth.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Ruth Bader
Ginsburg.
She was dead. She was dead already when they had a vote, because the Pennsylvania thing got stuck at 4-4 and it got sent back down because it wasn't no majority.
So
Well,
right now,
just because
right now there's 8.
You said what happened?
I'm looking at it right now because I'm looking at the website right now. 2, 3. Yeah, right now it says that there's 8 because, like I said, because one passed, and that's why I got kicked down. So that's why they're at 4-4. So there should be 9 seats, but there's only 8 right now.
Okay, so anyways, my argument would be, honestly, I always think about thinking politics is like the shoe being on the other foot. Let's say it was 5-4 in favor of the Democrats. Obama got his nominee in there in 2017 when the Senate blocked it. Then, of course, when Trump came in 2017 in January 21st of that year, he would have, Kavanaugh and his other nominee, regardless if RBG had died, would have been in there, and it would have given them 5-4, 6-3, whatever, not 6-3, I'm sorry, 7-4 advantage or whatever. Let's say they push it to 11 or 10, 7-4 advantage or 7-5 advantage, however the math works out. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, to run my point home, is that I feel like Joe Biden should do exactly what the Democrats would, what the Republicans would do. The Republicans were losing, they would pack it out to where it suits their best interest. So I don't see why the Democrats can't do the same exact thing. And I think the fact that during the debates, whenever the question of packing the court was brought up, they avoided the topic because, you don't show your whole hand when you're playing cards. And I'm almost certain that if Joe Biden gets the Senate, he's going to pack the court out, and he's probably going to nominate another 1 or 2 justices. And, of course, we might get as high as 15, depending. But as far as term limits, I'm definitely in agreement to 12 years, 8 years. Definitely in agreement with that. Same for Congress and the same as for the House of Representatives and the Senate. But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah.
Like, see, I don't. So my opinion on, like, for the Supreme Court, like, yes, term limits, but I don't have an issue with someone being able to infinitely rerun as a judge. Because if you're just as a judge, that's fine. You're just making rulings. That's cool. But you're not rerunning. You basically have to get reappointed by the next president. If the next president still wants you to be on there, cool. That's cool with me. Now, the Senate and the House of Representatives, they need like a limit hard. Like, you run twice for House of Representatives, you can run twice for the Senate, and you can run president twice. That's it. You're gone.
Well, I think even the House and everything should be
again.
Yeah. Well, I think everything should be like 12 years max. Like I said, I would stretch it to 15 and just 15 max, but then after that, turn over.
Yeah, I agree. Like, unless there's like some like in the judge's case, unless there's like some emergency circumstance where, like, okay, we need you. Can you stay on a little bit longer or something?
Well, yeah, that's why maybe the best of both worlds. It's 12 years, and then if something's going on, hey, you have this emergency 3-year extension, or hey, you're finishing out this case 3 years to get it done. And that's why, and that's like it's like a 15 hard cap, just like bye.
Yeah,
you know.
I'm definitely for term limits because I definitely feel like what we're seeing now in the House and even the Senate is that we're seeing a lot of the establishment be out of touch with the changing demographic of America, like just from the laws that they pass, the things that they bring in front of them to argue and to discuss. It's all out of touch, and that's on both sides of the aisle: Democrat, Republican, Independent as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Man. So our next topic. So I seen this on Twitter like 2 days ago, and I thought it had to be fake. I honestly thought it had to be fake because it was thrown in there with like in between some election tweets, and I'm like, huh? I looked at, you doing what? I said, nah, they playing. So,
oh my God.
They're gonna do a million MAGA march.
MAGA, you'd say it right, MAGA.
What, man? MAGA.
Lock him up.
Whatever.
Stop the fraud. Psych.
Yeah. There really ain't no.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. Listen. So I live on the outskirts of DC. I live in the DMV. And
take photos.
No, I'm not going. First of all, where large crowds go, COVID-19 goes. So I'm just hoping that natural selection runs its course and it does what it's supposed to do. So that's first and foremost.
If I was there, I'd go in my car with this big ass lens, be away from everybody, and extend it, and just be like, "Yo, look at the stupidity."
Second of all, these sore losers, because I mean, let's call them what they are. Like, they're sore losers. A week ago in several cities, they did their whole, jam the freeway, clog rush hour traffic. Well, it was on a Sunday here, clog the traffic. And so now they're going to DC to protest and yell at each other and to basically hold hands and sing Kumbaya and cry about how they got cheated. Like, shit's embarrassing at this point, man. Like, I remember in 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost, as a person who voted for Hillary, yes, I was highly upset. I couldn't believe we elected a reality star with a porn star wife as our president, with no military experience, no political experience, who barely passed college with grades lower than George W. Bush. Like, I couldn't fathom it. Like, this man insulted his way into the White House, but I accepted it. And it was like, okay, well, what do you do about 2020? What do we do to change that? And all you heard was just, Republican trolling, stop being sore losers. You guys lost, and he's our president, and build the wall, and all this racist rhetoric. And now here we are 4 years later, and I haven't seen any Democrats troll Republicans, but I have seen people, flip that same rhetoric. Don't be a sore loser. Accept the election.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 years to prove himself, and he did it by insulting people on Twitter every single day for 4 years.
Yeah. You can only insult people for so long before they're like, you know what? Let's get this man up out of here. I don't want to hear this no more. I don't want to see this no more. Like, you literally created your own downfall. Like, all he had to do was literally, if he didn't tweet, like, he probably would have won. I guarantee. If over the course of time he just didn't tweet, he probably would have won re-election.
Well, I think what actually cost him the election was his COVID response. That's where he lost a lot of demographic, because if he would have done well on COVID, there's no way that Joe Biden would have won, because he had the least excitement for him of any recent Democratic nominee. The only reason that people got out there to vote was because of how much they hated Trump and his COVID response. But you had just as many people who loved him. It's just the COVID response that really dealt with that. But speaking to that million MAGA march, this is basically just the largest white supremacist or Klan rally in American history that's getting ready to happen.
Again.
So I would actually recommend staying away from that because that seems like a dangerous situation.
No, I mean, like we said, 2016, like this didn't happen, and it's even beyond the march. What I was, talking about earlier too. It was. I see a bunch of posts on there, and they're saying, "Oh," and they're putting all these recounts on there. And I know Wisconsin and Wisconsin especially, Hillary lost Wisconsin less than what Trump lost Wisconsin at. And there wasn't these outrageous cries for recounts, revotes, and everything. Should it happen? Yes, like that's all due process. If we want to be sure, I'm all for that. But it's like people, they're not. It's like this is the result. We're gonna go and do our due diligence and check everything else as we should. But this is the result we have. You can't say, hey, this is not happening. And I think that's my big problem with this march, and it exemplifies that because there's a bunch of people saying, hey, this is not the result that we have, and the thing is, we all know this result could be overturned. Let's be real with it if you have hard proof. But just to say, hey, it's kind of like, you falling down and breaking your foot and be like, oh, well, like that didn't happen. It's like, no, like, your foot's broken, and I feel like that's what they're trying to do. And it's just so like it's embarrassing. It really is just embarrassing. And it shows, how we are. And then back to what Brian said about the COVID response, I do think that's really one of the reasons that he lost the election. But the other one too is what KJ said. He's tweeting every day about stuff because voting this year, I'm on the West Coast, so West Coast, blue state. I cast my vote by the time I get off of work, and 10 minutes later, it's like, hey, California, goes out and they're saying, hey, it's blue. This year, I noticed Texas was a battleground state, and I have family from Texas, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, so it just showed that even besides his COVID response, him tweeting every day pissed a lot of people off. The fact that Texas was almost 50-50, and Georgia is almost 50-50, Florida was almost 50-50, and then if everything goes away, you flip 4 states. That shows that I think not just COVID. He lost his election beforehand, and COVID was just the final nail in the coffin, or just exemplified everything he did wrong. Because even during his COVID response, it wasn't his response; it was his Twitter actions, and he's tweeting on about everybody who he doesn't agree with, who goes against him, and trying to put everybody else false, and you're making yourself look like an idiot. And that's why these states that were like states that were saying, "Hey, we don't want to wear masks," like Texas. So Texas agreed with him on his COVID response, but he pissed them off. Which is why more people were like, you know what? Even Republicans are like, you know what? Maybe I don't want this guy. And I think. Go ahead, KJ.
No, I was gonna say I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was gonna say I disagree. Like I feel what Brian was saying, that solely his COVID response lost him the election. Yeah. Like I think had this been a normal 2020, ebbs and flows years with you're gonna have a couple things that happen in a year. Yeah. Deaths, hurricanes, knock on wood, like those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But nobody had COVID-19 on their 2020 bingo card. Well, maybe some scientists did, but no normal American had COVID on their 2020 bingo card. Let's be real. And it wasn't like, to me, it was solely on his response.
Yeah.
Even if he would have came out to win re-election, all he had to do was come out and say, look, we're going to go into a lockdown, shutdown for 3 weeks. And he had 2 weeks, any amount of time. And, of course, just say that and not really even give an explanation, but just as we're going to do this. And just like with anything else that his base does, they would have followed blindly behind.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, but it wasn't just that, though, because I'm saying because even with it was because. And that's what I mean, because I think he was pissing people off beforehand, and then because his COVID response, it magnified it, because he did the same thing in Puerto Rico when they had their hurricanes, everything else that was happening, and I think that's where his COVID response, because even if he just said, "Hey, this is what we're doing," but he was fighting everything. And the thing is, when you're saying, "Hey, the sky is blue," and you go outside and you're saying the sky is blue, and they're saying, "Hey, Trump, the sky is blue," and just because what he wants to do, and now he's saying, "Hey, it's," and he's not saying this, but he's going against everything. It's like, oh, the sky's red. I think eventually even the blind witnesses are going to say like, "Hey," or he's going to piss him off, because if I'm following him and I'm like diehard Trump, MAGA, everything, right? And I'm saying the sky is blue, and he's calling me out and saying the sky is red, that means now he's calling me an idiot. That's when he started losing people, and that's why I think the COVID response was like the final nail in the coffin, because he was doing that beforehand, and that's why I know, because like especially with Texas, like how they wanted to respond to COVID was kind of how he wanted to respond to COVID. Just let it be. It's funny. It's fine. It's whatever. But then after that, when they do something and then he's calling them out for their response, even though they're kind of doing what he said, and he's backtracking back and forth because he's always on Twitter. Because I think honestly, if he just did what he needed to do and got off of Twitter, I think it wouldn't have been as bad as it was for him. So like you were saying, his Twitter game kind of screwed him over, and the COVID was just like the latest example of it.
I mean, to me, I feel like he still could have been on Twitter,
but
I feel like it was just the blatant. He wanted, so what he wanted when he understood the severity of COVID-19 in the beginning, he wanted to be like, all right, as I say it, it shall be done. So if I say it's going to magically disappear because I don't see it, it's going to magically disappear. And then Fauci and the rest of the scientists from Wuhan were like, nah, bro, like the shit don't work like that, fam. Like you got to actually do something and measurable and put it in place. He's like, well, nah, fuck that. I said it's going to disappear, so it's going to disappear. Oh, you don't agree with me? You're fired. And when these things, like you said, when these things start rolling downhill, people were looking at him like, bro, like these are people that you're paying to tell you to fix the problem, and you're not listening to them to fix the problem.
Yeah, but and that's what I mean. And then it wasn't even that, because then after that, he just went on Twitter and called them out on it also too. So even people who are not into the politics and everything that's happening, but then now it's showing up on their phone on Twitter. And I think so. It kind of like so that's what I'm saying. His Twitter game put a spotlight on his incompetencies, and I think that's pretty much, like I said, the final nail in the coffin. But he was doing that all year. So I guess that's why I guess it's a bit of both. But I think he lost it before COVID, and COVID was just like the icing on the cake, just because that's what he was doing on everything.
I think if you look at the demographics, the main people he lost weren't people who even use Twitter. He started look like Arizona, for example, Maricopa County. It's full of older people. Those older people were very concerned about COVID. The failure there for them is what flipped them. It is. So I really think if you look at the demographics of the people he lost, it's not even. I don't think it has much to do with the Twitter game as much as it does that his response was just really awful.
I definitely agree with that.
As much as he would try and lie about it, people were seeing it was way too prevalent for it to be ignored.
Yeah. I mean, we passed 140 days in the U.S. like today, like 140,000, excuse me, 140,000, like new cases alone in the United States. Texas just became the first state with 1 million.
Yeah,
that means they had to jump past New York.
Well, that's not. Texas has more people than New York, though, so that part doesn't surprise me. But
it has more people than New York.
Yeah, it's the most populous states are California.
Right.
Yeah. But like we said, his response was horrible and not acknowledging it. And honestly, it's a simple thing as wear a damn mask. Yeah. And he didn't want to do that. And then the thing is, my other thing too, and I know we're going way off topic now. It's get everybody tested, because the main thing is we don't understand this still, and that's the main issue too. We don't understand it, which means so we don't know how it's transmitted, because that's the thing. So if someone could have it, and are you contracting it, or are you just a carrier? And that's the thing that he didn't want to put the time in to do it, because like we said, he wanted to will it away.
Right. And that was my argument, or my talking point when I got into kind of a debate with a few Trump supporters. When I posted some memes on social media, they were giving me all this long list of racist Biden rhetoric and Trump is better because XYZ. And of course, the conversation went to COVID. And my thing is that, like Tybex just said, like, we don't even know really what COVID is. And everybody wants to say, oh, well, it's stronger than the flu, this and that. And my argument to that is, like, everybody here and everybody watching should know what the flu looks like. You see someone with the flu, they have a headache, their sinuses are draining, they got cough, they look blue or pale in the face, like sick. Like, we know what the flu looks like from years of, like, I get the flu every year. And I know what it looks like. You need some orange juice, your body temperature spikes, and you have it for 2-3 days. You might throw up, you might have diarrhea, then you do what you're supposed to do, get your body back down to normal, you go on about your life. 2-3, maybe 3-4 days, a week at the most.
Yeah.
With COVID, it varies across the spectrum. Like, I have friends who have got it in the early stages, and they're like, man, I was sick as a dog. My head hurt, man. My body temperature was up. I couldn't move. I don't have no feeling in my limbs. I can't do this. I can't taste food, but I'm fine now. And then you have other friends that's like, yeah, I tested positive, but I mean, I feel good. I'm just going to quarantine. And so it's like, is it really the flu, or what really is it?
No, exactly, and that's why, like, we need more understanding of it, because that's the thing. Right. It's like, I could have it and I had no symptoms of it too, but that's the reason why when I go out I wear a mask, because what doesn't knock me on my, and that's the thing, because I know, because my mom and I and part of my family were like that. Like, unless something really knocks me on my butt, I don't know I'm sick. Right. But other people don't have that luxury, and other people I come in contact with, they don't have that luxury either. And that's why it's something, and it seems stupid and trivial, but it's something stupid as, hey, when you go out, wear a mask. And that was the stance on it. Like, oh, I'm not wearing a mask because it's not patriotic. And I'm like, what? Like, it has nothing to do with being patriotic. It's something to do with protecting, maybe my grandma, well, my grandma, they both passed away, God bless her soul, but someone else's grandma, or someone else's mom,
You got to care about the next person. I mean, that's exactly what it boils down to. Like, I don't wear a mask for my own comfort. I wear a mask for, Smooth's grandmother. If I saw her in the store, and I've seen a lot of elderly people during this pandemic, and they're scared shitless to even go into Walmart to get eggs, milk, and cheese.
Yes.
And it's like, even with them, and they're like, well, I don't know. And that's why they have a lot of these stores have these senior hours, because these people are really on both sides, Republican and Democrat, whatever way you vote, are scared shitless because they have a compromised immune system. So the mask is just one way to care about the next person. Yeah. It's not even about infringing on rights and health hazards and all the other bullshit people want to say as to why they don't wear one. Yeah. Like, you just got to care about the next person.
Exactly.
I did want to add this to this, and then we're gonna segue off of it since we got into the COVID thing. The Pfizer CEO, so the company that made that vaccine that has that 90% that has not been proven 90%. They just said it was 90%, and they haven't, it hasn't went through the scientific process of being affirmed to have 90% effectiveness. They just said, hey, this test result was good. It was 90% effective. You gotta replicate that a couple more times. Like, you can't just run one group. You need to run a couple of groups and it be 90% effective. So their CEO sold $5.6 million worth of stock that day. So it jumped up, and he sold 5.6 million of stock. Now, the way I'm taking that is, he knows that it's not 90% effective. He knows that when they go to replicate these results, they're not going to get it. So we're going to be back at square one. And he just wanted to make sure he had his money.
I don't think it might not be that.
I'm looking at it.
I can look at it that way, or I can look at the fact that this is all his company is doing. So then after this is where his stock's gonna be at an all-time high. So he's selling now, because he waited for a time, so he doesn't have to worry about insider trading, and it's never going to be higher because after they have the vaccine out, and say if it is 90% effective, even if it's 75% effective, after everybody gets the vaccine, or they get it out there's nothing else that they can really do with it, so, and then the stock's gonna go back down. So I think he might be selling while he's high. So that's just, I'm saying either way he's greedy. But I'm thinking it might be more aligned with that rather than saying, hey, he knows it's not effective. Because that's what Kodak did when they got a grant from the government, so they could go in medical, like that too. So a lot of the people they went and sold while it was high.
Yeah. I just find it a little disturbing. That's all.
It is.
I don't have an. I don't think that is 90% effective because, what's the 90% you're basing it on? You could test it on 10 people with strong immune systems, and 9 out of 10 of them pass it. Boom, that's your 90%. Like, what is your as thinking as a social scientist now? What is your not test demographic, but you get what I'm. What is your sample size? You know what I'm saying? And then
their sample size was was a little over 40,000 test people.
Yeah, but KJ means it's like from where? Like
32 and 40,000 to be accurate.
Yeah, but then again,
I know NPR actually had a good radio show about it, and they actually covered a pretty broad demographic. So I think it, like, they had older people, they had people of different races, they had people of different genders. So I think it actually might be a pretty legit,
I'm thinking about 80
vaccine, and I think it's supposed to be in like the phase 3 trial stage. So they might actually have something there. And I mean, Operation Warp Speed, I guess it did something, everyone had the whole world throwing their know-how after it. And if an American company happens to be the one to get it, then,
Yeah, actually, a girl from my work, she's part of that test actually. So I'm like, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Hey, educate me.
I'll let you know, because I was like,
I'm naturally like not believing the stuff that they put out there, because I just see thinking every day.
I'm thinking it'll probably be like 80%. Like I said, I think he's just selling it while it's high, because say if it goes to production and after it's already effective, like the stock's not going to be as high as it is now when they announce things. So
health skepticism. But anyway, it's about this topic number 4.
Yeah. So that's what I was about to say.
Fly to the right.
I was responding to another a future guest that I'm gonna have. So the Republican Party's futures, like, so what do y'all see their future going forward? Like after January 21st, okay, and they got to prep for midterms and the next election. Like, are they going to continue? So this is my line of thought. I'm gonna give y'all my line of thought, and y'all just tell me where y'all fall. My line of thought is they're going to, for the midterms, continue to use Trump and his base to get what they want to get. However, when it comes time for 2024, when somebody has to run, somebody has to go up against it, they're going to try their best not to use him and try and use somebody else. Somebody that appeals to that demographic and understands that demographic without actually someone they can control. Because I feel like they've been at the whim of him this whole time. Like the whole party has been at the whim of Trump and whatever he felt. They haven't been able to do what they wanted to do necessarily. Like they're getting what they want, but they're not able to just do like
what they want.
The way they want us. They want to see it done. They have a system to them, just like the Democratic Party. They have a system to them. They both do. You know what I'm saying? And they both have a style of executing, so that they're able to get what they want. You know what I'm saying? Effectively. And I just think it's been, there's been a lot of things, a lot of people rubbed the wrong way, and they want to resecure their base and resecure their power.
I'm gonna be short. They finna reload the clip, and that's just really what it is. Like they finna reload the clip. They ran out of bullets, and they about to reload the clip, and they're probably gonna put an extendo on it. Everybody that they figured out a blueprint to win back their base. And the blueprint to win back their base is simple: dog whistle racism. And, you found terms, MAGA 2020, build the wall, probably not really subtle. But now with this stop the fraud, which is a direct undermining of our democracy, not to go back to the voter fraud topic, but they figured out a way to rile and rally their base. And it's been behind the idea of racism, behind making America great again, or as my friend will say, making America white again. And as long as you're a candidate and you can do that, you pretty much will solidify, especially if you're in a deep red state like Arkansas or North Carolina, you can pretty much win every election, from whether you're running for the school sidewalk council all the way to a House of Representatives seat.
Honestly, I'm kind of in between both of you guys. I think inside the party, some of them are probably happy that Trump lost. Because like I said, they can't control him. He's a wild card. He attacks anybody. He kind of divides them inside the House. Even though none of them are going to admit it, publicly at least. Like I said, they're going to go. They're going to pick out what worked on this, on this past election. Like I said, they're going to do a remix. It might be a little more subtle, so they could try to convert some people who are blue, who are kind of like in the middle of it, or the voters that they lost that they lost on this one, who are more, I guess, liberal Democratic, and but they're like conservative Democrats try to get them over too. But they're going to do the same thing, like I said, same thing over again. Rinse, wash, repeat, and bring them over, because if you're able to have these problems and predict them, saying, hey, it's not us, it's about, everybody who's not, the white man, who is not, part of the establishment that they agree with, and they say, hey, this is not the problem, let's help isolate the problem and get them out. People listen. And that's why when we say like racism's alive, and they just concealed it, it's made it so that they didn't have to conceal it anymore, so people, they were comfortable going out and doing that, to make it more normalized. So I think it's to be a mixture of both. I don't think they're going to try to use Trump again, but I do see Trump trying to run again in 2024, whether it's with the Republican Party or as an independent. So they might try to, if Trump says he's going to run, they might bring him back on board, just so he doesn't divide the party more, and fracture the party more on the outside, not just inside.
Well, Trumpism is the new gold standard for conservatism, so they're gonna try to continue that appeal to the white, appeal to the uneducated, appeal to the highly religious, because that is what their base is. They need their evangelicals, those single issue voters who are like, abortion, that's wrong. All right, we'll get that. Homosexuality, that's wrong. Okay, we got you too. They're gonna keep that appeal, and that's why they're able to get so many Latinos, I think,
Yeah,
as opposed to black people, because Latinos are very, as far as Catholicism, they're very pro-life, and that might be their single issue.
Exactly. Or the single, sorry, not to cut you off, or the single issue that they will not go against.
Yeah, so they can find those, they found their niche there. As far as Trump running again, I don't know if he will, but I know he's gonna have a lasting impact on the party, and maybe they won't be as brazen as far as the mud slinging and insult throwing, but definitely all the dog whistles and the bull horns, they're gonna keep that.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to be more brazen with their insults. And as a matter of fact, as we're talking, I'm looking up a Republican who won the a House of Representatives seats from from North Carolina. His name is Madison Cawthorn, and I'll drop the article in the chat for everybody. But essentially, he won the House of Representatives seat, becoming the youngest youngest member of Congress. And his first tweet after winning was "Cry more, comma lib, period." So, if you honestly think that these younger, like that's what I meant by when I say real.
What?
He said cry more, comma, lib, LIB, period. That's the only thing he said immediately after he won. And so that's what I was going into when I was speaking about reloading the clip, is that they're getting younger.
Yeah.
And because we all know, the old adage, racism is not, you're not born racist, you're taught racism. And you're taught fascism, you're taught socialism, you're taught, bigotry, hatred, the whole nine. So these new age Republicans, they're getting younger. They're coming out educated because they're, old money, and they're going to school, and they're getting more active at an early age. They've always been pretty active, but they're getting more active. And they're using social media, something that even 10, 15 years ago, none of us could have fathomed would have taken off the way that it did. And they're using that to get their message to a wide audience for free. So there's no real money being put into, I have to run an elaborate social media campaign. I just have to log in, get a bunch of followers, and talk my shit, and somebody gonna listen to me. So the Democrats and even the Independents, Green Party, Libertarian, whatever you subscribe to, they need to be following the exact same playbook. They need to be reloading their clips too. And I say this for Black people because we're the only race of people and the only demographic of people in America. We're not allowed to be a single issue voter. Never. Nope. I don't know any Black person that's a single issue voter. Our first thought when we vote, I will hope. Okay, let me back up. I will hope our first thought when we vote is, what is this person going to do to make sure that I'm seen as an equal to them?
Yeah.
And, whether that's social justice issues or what we see now, voting rights from our grandparents, the war on drugs, and to eradicate poverty with our parents and our aunties and our older cousins, to, this crime bill that people keep bringing up for whatever argument, whatever reason. Like, we need to figure out what is in it for us to make us seen as equals in America. And until we do that, like you said, going back to the Republicans, they figured it out. Like Brian said, they figured out, all right, it's going to be the racism. It might not be the brazen attacks, but it's going to be there.
Facts. I'm like, I was trying to look up this this Trump tweet, but I cannot find it. I think Twitter. No. I know why I can't find it. Because I flagged and reported the tweet myself, because I went and found out the information was false. So I reported the tweet myself. That's why I can't see it. Oh man, yeah, but I guess I'm wishful thinking. Like, I wish that they would go back to like being decent. Like, the last time, like, I think I made a post about this like yesterday. Was it? I think it was yesterday. Like, I was like, man, because I was looking at John McCain running against Obama, and I was like, man, like, are you serious? This is the last decent Republican. John McCain was the last one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people were in there trying to like straight up disrespect, you know what I'm saying, like Obama, you know what I'm saying that they feared him or whatever, and saying that he wasn't American and all that. And he was combating them right there in the town hall to their face, like, nah, that's not it. That's not true. You know what I'm saying? He's a decent man. We disagree on fundamental issues. Like, he you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just two Americans with varying opinions, instead of what we have now, which is like, if you're not for me, you're wrong, you're evil, you know what I'm saying? You're fake news, you're fraud. Like, it's insanity, like, and then for each one of his claims, like, there's a link to this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna drop it in the chat. for later for this. What is it for? For all the cases, right? For the election, all the cases, all of them have been thrown out. All of them, with the exception of two, and one was saying that the poll watchers can be closer, so they can be in 6 feet. That was one that he won, and that was during the election thing. And the other technically it was like they settled, and it wasn't even like a win. Like I can't even remember what it was about, but it was not even a hard win. It wasn't even like it said the votes were fraud or anything like that. Like none of that's happened, and it's just insanity, And I hope and pray that this isn't the future, that we're gonna constantly deal with this from the Republican side, like, and they won't even a lot of them won't even give ground and say like, hey, okay, this isn't as bad as I think it is, or I'm wrong here. They won't even give any ground. They won't even admit their side is wrong, because I don't know if they see it as weakness or whatever. It's mind blowing. Like you can't hold any level of accountability to your guy. None. You can't look at the preponderance of evidence yourself. You didn't actually like look and see what the judge said about the court case. Oh no! Now the judge is not in your favor. Oh, now your own Republican state election official is fraud and fake news. Your Republican governor is fake news. Your Republican mayors and stuff that you elected are fake news now too, just because they disagree and they're saying like, "Yo, no, this is what it is." That's nuts.
I mean, is it nuts? I mean, as they say, the fish rots from the head. And I mean, we've seen this over the last really 5 years, because really Trump mounted his campaign in 2015. So we've seen this for the last 5 years. And I'll be brief, because I think number five is the big bring it home topic. Is that the fish rots from the head? We've seen this for the last 5 years, and we've seen it be effective. We've seen, people like Congressman Cawthorn, with his insults, like he won, albeit he's in a red state. But we've seen others flip districts, flip seats, whether it be through gerrymandering or whether it be through rhetoric or flat out lies or fear mongering ads. Like that's the new playbook. And I'd be remiss to say that Democrats are kind of guilty of it too. In a small instance, they're not not the insults part, but more so the fear mongering ads part. But this is becoming the black and blue sort of game politics is.
It's not just politics.
But to Smooth's point, I do hope that like there is some decency and decorum that's brought in. Back to really both sides of the aisle. Like at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And at the end of the day, like I would hope we all want similar thing. We want a place for our kids and our kids' kids, kids, to really grow up in harmony and not have to worry about, hey, do I get caught by that stray bullet, or hey, is this person going to come and shoot up my school because he's off his medication, or am I going to be a victim to human trafficking or whatever? So let's hope things change. But sorry for that rant, but yeah.
Right. So the last topic is, so as individuals, what do you plan on doing to help help your community, to help curb some of this, to be an effective change, to be an agent of change. That's the better word phrasing. Be an agent of change, in our communities, and also outside of our communities. Like this America, this is our community. We do live here. We are citizens. So what do you guys plan on doing?
Okay, so my first thing is I want to get involved in, like, I've been to like maybe 2 city council meetings, but I want to go to more city council meetings. I actually probably want to get on a city council. And my real plan for making differences is running for public office. That's that's the, I think, the most significant way I can make a change. And of course, I could get out there and help with the voting registration and volunteering at polling places and things like that. I think that's things that we can all do, but it's mostly got to be either about educating or legislating. That's the biggest ways to make change. That's the most important ways to make change. I actually got a whole platform of things that I would like to do if I could get into a state Congress and eventually, federal Congress. But that's a whole nother thing, and I'm not even gonna go through all of those things. So.
Take that or KJ, y'all want what y'all gonna do?
Go ahead, KJ.
I mean, my thing is about education. Like, I feel like I work for a university, but my thing has always been about educating. And so for me, that starts with sharing verified, factual news and information. Like, I don't know why this is, a big thing in 2020, and it really shouldn't be, because we should be sharing real and factual news and information. But no, it starts with that. It starts with educating myself first and foremost, because I learned this election, there are a lot of things about the election process that I didn't know, or that I assumed and thought I knew, and I didn't. And so first learning and listening for myself, and then passing that on to whomever will listen to me. And then really just not, really being hateful, and even really trying to understand the other side. And just trying to, really understand why they think the way that they think, why are their politics the way their politics set up, and not really do it in a manner to fire back at them and, convince them to change, but just to get them to see my viewpoint and why I think the way I think. And, until we start to listen to each other, regardless of what we believe in, like, no change is going to happen.
We hit it on the head. Main thing is education. As coming from a family of educators with my mom, dad, and my aunt, I believe that's the biggest thing. The other one is community involvement. After the newest social justice charge, and kind of everybody hating like on the police, and it was finding out what's going on. So I know I talked to you guys about it before, but I took it upon myself. I'm like, let me reach out and be a part of these community action boards with the police, and ask the questions that saying, hey, why are you doing things the way you're doing? And what, even though it shouldn't be that way, what can we as a community do better? And my other thing is like reaching out to communities, because not every community is like how we say, we can't be single topic voters, or no community is really a single topic community. Communities branch out into other communities, so you find that commonplace, to have that respect. And even though if checking somebody like this police officer, he might be a part of your other community, that and that's why it was disgusting me, because I'm seeing some police officers, just because they're a police officer but they're black, and the people, they're attacking them, and it's like, no, like, he's doing his job to keep everything safe as best as he can right now. It's not really, and we don't know if it's directly his fault that some other guy went rogue, but it's like, but then, he could be part of your community as well as you're in your home community. You don't know that. Why are you gonna attack him? So it's kind of bringing out those bridges. But also, even at work too, like you said, putting out right information, and then just discussing and letting people know the importance of actually listening and not hearing people. Because a lot of people, especially like in debates and arguments, they're not listening to you and your side. They're already coming back with the response and listening to everything. And we could disagree fundamentally. It doesn't make you a bad person. And maybe there's things that, hey, maybe, you know what, I still don't agree with about all of this, but you make a really good point, and that's something that we need to readjust to adjust that and to change it. And I believe so. That's kind of what I've been doing, and even starting from the lower level for the kids in the community, for the students, middle school, high school students, college students, and then people in the workplace, and then just in general. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do, and even kind of growing like my small little platform, because I've met people from all over the country, like lately, like because I guess that's the best thing about my 2020, that I've been meeting. Social media is kind of helping with that, and actually being able to go places for work and stuff like that, meeting other people and seeing what's important to them, and then, hey, how can I bring that back to California to help us out here, or vice versa, and letting them know that, hey, we kind of do things differently over here. This is how it can help you, to bring everybody's ideas, because that's the thing, because KJ is in DC, right? So he has a different perspective on a bunch of different things. But but just because I'm in California doesn't mean I should shut him out saying, nah, we're on the West Coast, this is what matters to us. It's like, no, because he could say something that I could learn about, and it could actually help me out here, helping my community, my people, and doing things, and vice versa. So I've been kind of been preaching that as well too, especially because a lot of things are going online. So this is a time where they're actually expanding their circles. And and even if you don't listen, because you might learn something, and it might help everybody out, and everybody's better in the long run for it.
True. I'm gonna say now for myself what I plan on doing, because everybody gave great responses. For myself, like, first of all, it's getting more active in my local community. And part of that is actually like either so I'm gonna like get into like those types of jobs, like those city jobs where you're actually like affecting change for people. Like whether I'm doing I'm the head of the community outreach program of the city, or I'm just a worker there, or whatever I'm doing that's actually like serving someone else, and I can actually like see tangible results. That's something I want to do. And actually like running for office. That's something I'm also looking into that I want to do. But I'm working on like actually like building out, like it's always been something that's been in the back of my head, always like making sure like I have the right it's gonna sound super political, like the right narrative, the right story behind myself. So then as I put myself out there, what I'm saying, I have appeal. Like, what I'm saying, I have a group that I can appeal to, like always being consciously mindful of that's something that I want to do, because I don't want to do something that could potentially hurt my chances of doing that, because that's something that I truly care about and something I truly want to do. It's the same way with like this podcast. Like, this has always been something that once I've seen podcasts, I was like, yo, this is something I want to do. I want to conversate with people. I want to have these conversations where people can get involved and feel like they're able to have, what I'm saying, like some outlet to be heard, what I'm saying? And I don't ever want to get to the point where all I have on here is like celebrity guests or whatever. Like, no, I want it to constantly be where regular people can be heard, what I'm saying, or regular people can be seen, like even if they're just in the chat room of this platform. Like I want them to be able to have a voice, because once you have a bunch of voiceless people and they get angry and they finally found an outlet, you end up with a Trump. You know what I'm saying? They gravitate to whatever they can find to give them an outlet. And that's basically what Trump's campaign did. They gave those people, those unheard Americans, an outlet, a voice. Now, did that group of people necessarily need to be, some of those groups of people necessarily need to be heard? No, they did. There was a reason why their voices were silenced and squashed, because they're not things, they're relics of the past. And I think they need to stay that way. You know what I'm saying? And we need to remove them from going forward. But I don't know how we do that. But for me, I want to be part of that wall, that stop gate. You know what I'm saying? To keep them at bay. You know what I'm saying? Somebody. It's like Game of Thrones, like they have a night watch. Like you never know when they gonna call on you, and you have to fight against the White Walkers, but you there. Like somebody has to be there. You know, somebody has to be prepared for that eventual battle. You know what I'm saying? You have to be, you know, to hold them off. But that's just me. That's just me.
Powerful. Good stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this has been great. This StreamYard platform, this is dope, man. Being able to I'm on all three at the same time. And again, thank you, KJ. I want to thank Brian, my brother, for coming on. I want to thank Typex for coming on. Alan, you know, KJ again, thank you for coming on. Yeah, man, and everybody that's at home watching, you know what I'm saying? Those links are the things that we talked about. They're available. They're in the chat, you know, so whenever you watch the video, you can just refer to these documents or these sources, excuse me. And yeah. But yeah, this has been Homeroom with Smooth, episode 14. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, we wait a minute.
Oh, there he is.
I got kicked out. I got kicked out the podcast. My fault.
Yeah, man. Man. Yeah. I just got something that just came across my screen that's kind of wild. But I don't want to put it in this podcast because this is already an hour. So I'm gonna stop this broadcast real quick.